Hello, everyone. I'm Elizabeth Copeland, financial journalist and trader here at Verified Investing. Thanks for joining me on Verified Market Insiders. Today, we have a very special guest, Drew Dosek, a pro trader here at Verified Investing. Thanks for joining me, Drew.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and dive in first because you came not necessarily from a financial background in the trader sense of the word, but from sales. What mindset puts you from, sales to trader? What brought you over to this side?
Well, it was a significant journey, right? And during that time frame too, when I decided to become a pro trader, COVID was going on. I was in sales. I was doing leisure golf sales for groups of 12 or larger coming down. Part of my territory was Canada, and once COVID happened, that border was shut down. Travel was shut down.
Mhm.
The whole industry really was furloughed for an extended period of time. And during that time frame, I started wondering, all right, what am I going to do with the rest of my career? I don't want someone else to control my destiny, something that I literally had no control of, and none of us did during COVID.
Right.
And lucky enough for me, I had met Gareth Soloway back in 2008, started my brokerage account, started looking more into that too once COVID happened. Then I decided, you know what, I'm just going to go head first and learn everything I can with Gareth. And it was just smooth sailing from there. Had a lot of fun learning it, and really excelled pushing into the markets. And one of the main things though, like I said, the one thing I wanted to do with getting into stock trading was to control my own destiny. And that's what I'm doing even here at Verified Investing. It's almost like I'm a general contractor, individual trader here amongst a great team, all learning more and accelerating my trading skills.
So you're able to collaborate with everyone, but yet still be able to, make your own trades, make your own decisions, and
Mhm.
kind of push your own brand almost as Drew Dosek forward, but with that collaborative background, kind of like that solid brick in the foundation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's what's fun about it too. With the courses in particular, doing my show, Trading the Close, those are something or places in which I can really express just my own characteristics, my own points of view on the market. I know we do collaborate with a lot of different ideas here at Verified Investing, but all of the analysis that we do is our own, and that's what's so wonderful about it. And it gives viewers multiple takes on certain stocks or commodities. One if which another trader might not have seen a particular level. But the neat thing about technical analysis is that generally all of our levels correspond. And so it's pretty neat too to get that reassurance whenever Gareth comes over my shoulder, he's looking at a chart and he's like, actually, I got the same level right there. So yeah, it's a lot of fun.
Right. And what has been the biggest difference, do you think, from going from sales to trading?
Sales from trading, trading is a lot more action packed, I would say. Sales, just like trading, actually, it's got cycles to it. You have a sales cycle, an annual sales cycle. I'm dealing with a lot more people in sales, whether it be through the phone, in person, or through email. Here on at Verified Investing, I still am discussing trade levels with our members.
Right.
However, it's not a lot of face-to-face interaction, not necessarily closing deals. They're following along, learning the education, becoming better traders. So it's two completely different dynamics. However, the pressure is involved in both, right? It's a high pressure job here in trading. It was a high pressure job in sales too. If you don't hit those numbers, you could be on the cutting block, right? And so, and I've seen, we've all seen it in a lot of people that have been in sales. But lucky enough for me, I had a great career in sales and really enjoyed my time there. But then here, as I've said, the main direction was to shift to really start taking control of my own destiny, being that I can start trading now, but then all throughout the rest of my life. Even when I decide to leave Verified Investing, I'll likely still have a computer and be clicking buttons as long as I can see and move on the charts.
Yeah. And by that time, maybe, I mean, heck, maybe AI is doing it for you. Just tell it what to do and it enters and exits levels for you.
It could.
Right there now.
You're right, but it may be like the first time you get in a Tesla and you don't know, like, oh my gosh, this car's driving itself.
Right.
Do I want to let it do that or not? And with all the knowledge I have in trading, I would be inclined to, dally in that area of letting some AI trade. However, I would rather be in control myself.
Oh, absolutely, for
Yeah.
sure. And, I've talked to a lot of the other traders around here about lessons learned because, every trader, I feel like, from new trader to being here 26, 27 years like Gareth, there's always a lesson to be learned. And I asked this, I mean, kind of knowing the answer, but I do want to let other people know because it's the most surprising answer I found so far. What and how what are the lessons you've learned and how have you learned them? Is it from winning a lot of money, from trading very successfully, or is it from losing a lot of money and maybe not trading as successfully? Where were those lessons learned along the way?
That's a good question, and it really kind of the answer boils down to human psychology. And really, as humans, we have you can boil everything down to we either want pleasure and we want to avoid pain, right? And so we're ingrained with that inside of ourselves. Whenever we have a losing trade, it sticks out far more than all of the winning trades. I've had as far as percent goes, they far outnumber the losing trades,
Right.
but the losing trades really stick with you because I think in humans, we want to avoid that pain, right? So that's where I've gotten my biggest learning lessons. And I'd have to say, especially starting out trading, and I talk about this in one of my new courses, The Trader's Core, position sizing is everything.
Mhm.
A lot of investors don't necessarily understand that, but giving yourself the ability to maneuver within and without of positions without being too over leveraged, too much of your portfolio in one position, it helps keep your emotions at bay. And you'll actually find you'll start making more money without having to use as much of your money for leverage.
Mhm.
So I'd say those are the biggest things that I've learned as far as the beginning when I was trading.
Right. So, I mean, talking about just kind of compounding those wins, Gareth said, a couple of days ago that it's about hitting the home runs, about the
Mhm.
singles, and I found that a lot with new traders, and even myself trading newly. It's you have X amount of dollars. Let's say it's not that much. Just you start with a small capital.
Yep.
You wanna double it the first day. That's just not how it works, though, I found, you gotta slowly build it up. Is that what you found as well? Just the slow earnings, the small little earnings that add up very quickly?
Yes, yes, and don't be confused with a lot of people online. They'll post a lot about their big winners, right? And especially options traders. It's usually hit a grand slam or go broke.
Yeah,
So you can certainly go that route, but that route's typically very short-lived,
yeah.
right? This game, again, I wanted to take control of my own destiny. So what that meant too is this is going to be a long run for me. This is going to be a marathon. One of the things that Gareth said for many years that really resonated with me was this is a game of singles and doubles. Singles and doubles. You swing for the fences, you're going to strike out. And then Gareth also said that one of his favorite players who made it to the Hall of Fame was Wade Boggs. And Wade Boggs wasn't this big, Jose Canseco swing for the fence type of guy. He was very much singles and doubles, but he was a solid, consistent player making it to the Hall of Fame. But my favorite in that same regard is Cal Ripken Jr. Similar sort of player. However, Cal Ripken Jr. had the longevity. He was the Iron Man. Played the highest number of consistent games in Major League Baseball ever, and as we know, Major League Baseball has a ton of regular season games, so it was a major feat for him. But again, both of those players, you really just view them for some of the characteristics that they've had that they excelled at. It was all consistency. It wasn't high peaks of success and then a lot of low valleys of losses. It was basically consistency throughout their career. And that's what you want to strive for. That's what I strive for in investing.
Yeah, reliability and consistency seem like they come up quite a bit in talking about trading and being a successful trader, at least.
Yes.
Now talking about your trading, so we're technical pattern traders here, and you talk a lot about inverse head and shoulders, measured moves, targets off those measured moves. For someone watching who's still learning about technical analysis, what would you say to someone who's looking at those patterns and say, maybe gets in a little too early, kind of pulls the trigger
Mhm.
on something they think is forming, like a validity? So the validity check, like, is it valid or not? What would you say to those people who still don't quite understand that or still trying to understand, measure moves or things playing out on the technical level?
Sure. Now, please forgive me. First off, measured moves.
Measured
I
moves.
can't say the word measured that well. It's just how it is. So it helps too for folks that are learning from me to remember some of these patterns carry those measured moves, which are so valuable for you to understand,
Mhm.
right? If you were to go to anybody and say, "Hey, look, I've got a pattern on a stock. It's going to take it from 100 to $140." That's extremely valuable information. Now, yes, sometimes those patterns do fail, and the way to get around it, especially a new trader, to understand some of these patterns is really where you have experience. There's really no way around it. Getting experience, there's shortcuts to you learning the information, which we can help you get there. But then emotions take over. And once you're involved in that trade, there's really no way around getting experience, watching the price action behave on those trend lines, what happens when price breaks those trend lines. It's amazing because a lot of people even call it, when they watch my show, they call my trend lines magical trend lines, because they truly are.
Yeah.
Price will, I'll keep a trend line on the chart for weeks or months, and then all of a sudden price will come up into it and get rejected almost right on the spot. May pierce it just a little bit, but the time that you're watching and studying charts, understanding the technical analysis, really helps you put confidence in the trade. Also, understanding that trading isn't 100% guarantee. Nothing is. There's no pattern that I would say, hey, 100% put your whole portfolio in this trade right now. Because usually if you're going to do that, it's likely going to fail at that point. So understanding the more factors you can stack up, the experience, and also putting the probabilities at test, all helped me get towards the confidence I have now to take the trades.
And going back to, what you just said about, there's not just a one, pattern that you like. There's not just one indicator, but if you had to choose, if
Mhm.
you had to choose just one pattern or one indicator that's your favorite and you can't live without. I mean, obviously you want others to go along, but the 2 that are the best for you, what would you
The
say?
2? Perfect. I'm glad you didn't limit me to 1,
Yeah.
'cause I got 2.
Yeah.
I love the Head and Shoulders and Inverse Head and Shoulders. Those I'll put under umbrella of 1.
Sure.
Very similar pattern, but they come with a measured move. And I found too, in my experience, those Head and Shoulders and Inverse Head and Shoulders, especially Inverse Head and Shoulders during bull markets, they play out fantastic, folks. I mean, it's really amazing how often they play out. It's a high 90% probability of those inverse head and shoulders, especially in a bull market.
Mhm.
The other indicator that I really can't live without are the Fibonacci sequence retracing. I went to school very long time ago. I was a scientist. I went to school as pre-med. So I love numbers. I love the thought process of the stock market's not just a whole bunch of chaos. There's a lot of organized moves within it, but it's just we need the right proper lenses
Right.
to really see it and identify where those levels are. And the Fibonacci sequence and the Fibonacci retracements really help me hone in and concentrate on significant levels that matter.
Yeah, absolutely, and those are 2 fantastic things I use every day, and a lot of it you taught me for especially the fib retrace. It's just amazing how that happens in nature, on the charts. It's all psychology of human nature.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so wild because we see it on the charts and it's electronic. It doesn't look like it should be something that's just natural and
Right.
occurs all the time. But it does, because we're the ones that are inputting the data
Mhm.
to move the market. So
Right.
it's just fascinating.
That is fascinating, and something else that's fascinating is your course, the overnight sleeper hold. I
Mhm.
do wanna talk to you about that. You've been identifying stocks, they're lagging their sector, setting up for potential sympathy bids, as you call them.
Yep.
How do you scan for those opportunities, and what criteria separates real trades from maybe some hope that you might have?
Yeah, good question. As far as, I'll answer the last first.
Sure.
As far as some factors that really distinguish and set up a more successful trade, you're going to have multiple factors. A lot of newer traders, when they're learning, they may see one of the factors that they've learned, such as something like a time count, play out,
Mhm.
and say, okay, every time now this time count, once it goes hits a certain amount of candles, I'm going to short it, or if it hits a certain amount of candles going down, I'm going to go long. Well, you need multiple factors, and whenever you're trading, you can almost think of taking a trade like you have a 50-50 shot of it going up or down at any given moment, looking at any given stock. Once you have a factor, it then increases odds to about 60-65%. And then if you have 2 factors, now we're talking about 75 to 85% success rate.
Mhm.
Of course, there's still failure within those multiple factor trade setups. But that's what really helps distinguish a successful trade and helps me isolate down better levels to take, better levels for swing trading, day trading, etc.
Sure.
As far as the first question again, I'm sorry.
You just have a knack for identifying stocks that are lagging in their sector, potentially for a sympathy bid setup.
Gotcha, gotcha. Um, in that question, most investors don't realize, or especially newer investors don't realize, that the markets don't necessarily go straight up and they don't necessarily go straight down.
Sure.
There's an ebb and flow to it. There's a little bit of a dance, if you will. There's stocks will go up, then they'll come down, much like the ocean rises in tide and then also lowers in tide. There's going to be periods of both, right? So when stocks get oversold, as long as the news isn't bad, as long as there's not something like fraud going on with the company,
Mhm.
well, then there's likely going to be a technical bounce that takes place simply because enough of the sellers have gotten out of that stock or commodity. And then the buyers are now interested because now that stock or commodity is what I like to call on sale. And so then they'll start scooping it up, creating a technical bounce for, in a lot of cases, swing trading, giving us opportunity to get like 10, 20, 30% returns on finding these great technical setups from oversold or overbought stocks and commodities.
Right. Oh, man. Well, that sounds good. 23% is not a bad return.
Yeah, hey, we'll take
Um,
that any day, right?
do you remember any specific setup that you've had in the past, super hold setup that you have, been like, "This is so perfect." Is there one that just stands out?
Yes, there was one, and I put it in my course too.
Yeah. Okay.
That's it's one of the modules at the very end of the course.
Okay.
It goes over trade setups for potential sleeper hold trades, and it also goes through some trades that I actually did take within services here at Verified Investing. And one in particular was on Victoria's Secret stock. This stock on the weekly time frame almost was about straight down, and it put in a perfect time count right into a major level of support, then gave me my third signal on that course. And those three factors together, the third signal was that, well, you'll find out.
Yeah.
And that's that third signal came in, and I took the trade, and it was an easy 15 to 20% win for everybody in the membership. We didn't have to add to the position. It just worked like magic. You know, just like I've said, the magical trend lines. And that's what happens when you can start really narrowing down different levels with multiple factors.
Right. Man, the chances of probability go up, and so do those, earnings.
Yeah, no
Not too
doubt.
bad.
No doubt.
Now tell me a little bit more about the GAN cycle report. So you have a show every Monday, is that
Mhm.
right, for the GAN cycle report? Tell our viewers a little bit about that and what they can expect as they join you.
Well, guys, this is a really exciting. It's kind of it's an episode. It's like a show, and it's an educational course too.
Mhm.
You know, cycles are one of those things we can't get out of, right? You know, and when I first started learning cycles, what I was trying to do, my mental approach was just to have a better understanding of the markets. Kind of like what I said just previously, where there's an ebb and flow to the markets. Markets don't always just go straight down. They don't always go straight back up. So I wanted to just further understand that. And I think really the roots of that come from really me back in college. As I said, I studied pre-med. I love the science courses. I love the microbiology. I love looking through the microscope and figuring out why life works, why and how it works here on this planet.
Mhm.
And then in an odd way, I became attracted to the stock market in the same manner, just to kind of understand, well, why is this doing that? Or why did this stock price move right here and stop? Or why are all semis now starting to move? And so all these questions started surfacing, and I found myself attracted to cycles. And cycles, as I said, we as humans can't get out of cycles. We live on an earth that's round. We orbit the sun. All of this is a cycle. Our earth is spinning around. We look at our clocks, the clocks are round, pre-digital clocks. They're
Yeah.
they're round. That it's going to be 12 in the afternoon, and it's going to be 12 at night. We can't get out of cycles. And so the more I started learning cycles, the more I started realizing they apply to the stock market too, because we as humans go through a lot of different cycles. There's a lot of influences on us that we may not see or be aware of. And that's what my course helps people identify. It helps them identify situations that come up, whether they be anniversary dates, or whether it be certain time count dates extended out through GAN's numerology studies, or whether it be different alignments of planets. And I know it may sound odd, but guys, you can't deny it. The world gets a little bit different when we have full moons,
Yeah.
right? You
Yeah.
know, there's a little bit more chaos. And I say this in the course too. My mom was a kindergarten teacher long before the internet, and she was actually documenting this with her kids in class during full moon. She's like, you know, every month during a full moon, her class would just become a little bit more chaotic.
Mhm.
And she would document. She's like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And then month after months go by. Now she starts prepping for those chaotic weeks when the full moon would occur,
Right.
have the kids do a little bit more activities. And then that too helped her in her life. And in a lot of the same way, the cycles help us as traders to anticipate certain movements so that we can start trimming some positions or even adding to positions if we're anticipating a bounce. So it's really fascinating stuff, and it's really next level
Right.
information.
Wow, putting science into human psychology basically at the end of the day.
Yep.
That's very fascinating.
Mhm.
And let's talk about a little bit about your course that's coming out. it's for you've got a section for new students.
Mhm.
You've got a lot it goes over some of the basics. I mean, tell us a little bit about that and what some of our viewers can expect. I mean, even if they're just trying to get into trading as a beginner.
Yeah, yeah. So when I came here to verified investing, actually, before I even started, when I first got information that I was going to be coming here and at least learning, I said, I went through just like every trader. We're going to go through speed bumps. We're going to make decisions that aren't or weren't the best, maybe over leveraging ourselves, kind of like the example I gave you earlier.
Mhm.
And I decided that I want to create a course where I can inform these new traders all about the pitfalls that I had that weren't in any educational courses that I took.
Yeah,
The educational courses that we have here at Verified Investing are fantastic, but none of them really were for beginners.
right.
None of them helped me answer some of the silly questions, such as what is a wash sale? Why was I worrying about it for so long? What is FIFO, first in, first out? How does that affect my account? And I would stress about these things, and it really would take away from some of the analysis that I was doing. But then plus, I go through major mistakes I made as a trader and I helped them avoid them. One of which mistake, I lost over 5 figures. I lost tens of thousands of dollars because I didn't set up my account appropriately. And no one was teaching me how to set up my accounts.
Wow.
What we have here at Verified Investing was all technical analysis, which I do have in that course too, because I go through swing, day trading, and a little bit of options trading. But I mainly go through some of the speed bumps I had to get over, some of the hurdles I had to get over in order to still remain a profitable trader. But these sort of little pieces of information not only can save you time, but can save you thousands and thousands of dollars. That's my goal
Mhm.
with my course, is really to help people avoid that landmine that I hit, so that they can have a faster head start and continue on with the singles and doubles with the marathon of trading.
Right, I mean, sometimes it does just take, I mean, setting up an account, making sure it's right before you even begin trading, the basics to be able to trade and not have to worry about all that stuff. So I think that's gonna be great information. And if people want to find you, Drew, on social media or follow, your trades, I mean, obviously we have verified investing, but where can people find you on social media?
You can find me on X at Drew Dosek.
Okay.
I also have shows on YouTube. So we have Trading the Close as well as Erect or Rich. And so we've got a new show coming out. We're always going to have new shows coming out here at Verified Investing too. It's a lot of fun getting this information out to you folks. But mainly, you can follow me right here at Verified Investing. We've got several services, whether they're swing trading services, day trading services, educational courses. If you want to tag along for the cycles courses too, as Liz said, that's a weekly episode. And I'm really giving away a lot of information in that everything that I learned also cost me thousands of dollars to obtain. So it's a great value for anybody interested in taking their trading to the next level.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for joining us, Drew. Really appreciate you having on. And make sure that you like and subscribe down below because we have so much information for you, not just interviews, but of course, Drew's things, all kind of trader inside information and all kinds of different trade setups that you can take and just basic information about the market. So make sure you like and subscribe, get the latest. Thanks so much for joining us here on Verified Market Insiders. We'll see you back next time.